Hello, everyone. Welcome to BIO181. I hope you enjoyed seeing that montage of me. I am Professor Christine Stevenson. I'm going to be your instructor for this semester of Bio 181. And the purpose of this video is to get you comfortable and familiar with how the class is going to work this semester. So I'm going to be running through a highlight reel of some important policies and the different types of assignments that you're going to be asked to take on this semester. But before I do that, I want to first bring your attention to a couple of the most important pieces of information, which is how you can reach me and get extra help from me. So you can communicate with me via email. My email is christine.stevenson1@centralaz.edu or through Blackboard messages. So if you have questions about anything you hear in this video, please send me a message in one of those two ways. You can also reach out to me by setting up a meeting for my virtual office hours or popping into my in-person office hours on the Signal Peak campus if you happen to be a student who also takes classes on campus. If this is your first semester of college, office hours are these set period of times that are opportunities for you to get extra help or tutoring from me. I have my in-person office hours at the Signal Peak campus in room S115 on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., and then 10:15 to 10:45. And then on Mondays, when I am not on campus and working from home, I have set the morning aside for virtual office hours, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. by appointment. Now, I'm also available at other windows throughout the week, but it varies from week to week. So if you need to meet with me outside of these windows, just let me know and we can figure something out. So let's talk a little bit about what Bio 181 is. If you are in this class, odds are it's because you are either hoping to get a bachelor's degree in some sort of science or you are hoping to go into healthcare. So Bio 181 is the starting point for both of those pathways. Some students who are majoring in other subjects will take Bio 181 as an elective, but that's pretty rare because this is not an easy class, and we offer a separate elective biology class, Bio 100, for students who want that elective level class. But Bio 181 is geared towards students who need a career level biology education, and it lays the foundation for that. If you're planning on majoring in an area of science but not going into healthcare, your future will look like the pathway that you see on the left side of this chart. Bio 181, General Biology 1, will set you up to move on to Bio 182, which is General Biology 2, and then from there you would transfer to a university to complete the remaining upper division courses involved in your bachelor's degree. If, on the other hand, you're planning on going into a healthcare career, then your pathway will look like what you see on the right side. So Bio 181 will lay the foundation for you to take a variety of 200 level courses that are offered at CAC, including Human Anatomy and Physiology 1 and 2, as well as microbiology. And all of these then serve as the prerequisites for healthcare programs, whether that's nursing, ultrasound tech, dental assisting, radiology tech, or even advanced professional schools. These courses will lead into all of the university level pre-med classes that are needed for med school, veterinary school, physician assistant, dental, pharmacy school. And Bio 181 is the foundation for all of this. In this class, we will learn the basics about cells, metabolism, genetics, and biochemistry that you need to move on to this higher level coursework. So hopefully you see yourself somewhere on this map. And if you don't, or you're not sure, talk to me and we can sit down and figure it out. With that being said, our goals in this class are threefold. We want to build a foundation of essential biology concepts that will support future coursework. We also want to develop basic laboratory science skills. And this might sound strange because this is an online course, but you will be completing laboratory experiments at home using kits of materials that will be shipped to you. And this will give you the beginnings of some lab science experience. And then finally, we want to use this course as a gateway for developing strong study habits and test prep skills that will support your career goals. Because regardless of whether you are on the left pathway or the right pathway in this schematic, you have chosen a career track that is going to expect you to know things and to be able to demonstrate that you know things through testing, whether that's in your upper division university coursework for your bachelor's degree or through the qualifying exams that you have to take to get into one of these healthcare programs, like the HESI exam that you take for the nursing program, or the PA CAT to get into PA school, or the MCAT to get into med school. You are on a career track where knowledge is essential. And I always say the sooner you learn how to study, the sooner you learn what works for you and what needs to be done in terms of techniques and approaches and habits, the easier the rest of the journey gets. And if you've never really had to study before, because everything's always come really naturally to you, or you just don't know where to start when it comes to habits and techniques, please ask me. You may have noticed at the beginning of the video that I have my master's degree in biology, but my PhD is in education, which means that I know a little bit about how learning works in the brain, and I can help you. So just say the word and we can set up a meeting and I can offer some tips. So now that you know what BIO181 is, let's talk about the format of our course. This course is going to be delivered in an asynchronous online format. And what that means is that the course takes place online. The fact that it's asynchronous means that you also don't have to log in at any particular time in order to complete the course requirements. We don't have live lecture sessions that you have to log into and watch simultaneously with other students. Instead, I record my lectures, I upload them to YouTube, and then I link them on Blackboard, and you can watch them at any time and complete the associated assignments anytime during the week, as long as you are meeting the weekly deadlines that are laid out in the schedule for the class. So this is a class where you can fit it around your schedule and do the assignments whatever point in time during the week is convenient for you. Labs, as I said, are completed using lab kits. And once again, you don't have to do those at any particular time. You can do them at whatever time works for you during the week. The only portion of this class that is not online is the exams. Exams must be taken at one of the on-campus testing centers. It doesn't matter which campus. The college has 5 campus locations. You can choose whichever one works best for you. But this is a relatively new requirement as of last semester for all of our online Bio 181 classes at the college, regardless of whether you take Bio 181 with me or with any of the other professors at CAC. All of the Bio 181 students now have to take their exams at the testing center. And I'll say more about this in a few slides when we talk about exams in general. Before we get there, let's talk about the materials and tools that you need for this class. You are going to need the laboratory kit, which must be ordered from the CAC bookstore. This includes the majority of the items that you will need to complete the labs, but some items will need to be provided by you. These are the types of things that we can't ship you in a kit. For example, there's a lab where we need fresh spinach leaves. We can't send you that in a kit in the mail. They won't be good by mid-semester when we actually need to use them. So if you need to see a complete list of all the stuff that needs to be provided by you for the labs, there is that list in the syllabus, and you'll also be familiarized with it in our first lab activity of the semester. We also have a textbook called OpenStax Biology 2E, second edition, and this textbook is actually completely free if you use it in its digital format. You can access the book through your web browser at the link that is on Blackboard, or you can download the book as a PDF at that same link. I always recommend you try to get by with the free online version because this book is going to be used more of as a supplementary resource. The lecture videos are really your bread and butter of this class. Those are your primary resource. And then if you need more information, the textbook is there to help you. So I'm not going to be asking you to read entire chapters in one sitting. But if you are someone who really likes a physical hard copy of a textbook, they are for sale at the CAC bookstore, and they are pretty cheap. Last I checked, they're about $35, which is pretty good for a textbook. So if you feel like you need it, the hard copy is there. Most students get by just fine with the digital version. And then, of course, given that this is an online class, other tools that you need include your Blackboard account and your CAC student email. So make sure you're keeping an eye on both of those things because I will be posting announcements and using these platforms to communicate with you. Now, if you don't have a computer for taking this class, you can actually check out a laptop from the college. And the way that you do this is by contacting the email on the screen here, loaner.equipment@centralaz.edu, and you can request a laptop through there. The laptops are free. They can be checked out for the duration of the semester and then returned to the college when you're finished with the class. But they are available on a first come, first served basis. So if you need one, I strongly recommend that you send that email as soon as possible. So now let's talk about what the class is going to look like in terms of assignments. The total number of points in the class is 850, and that is spread across a few different types of assignments. The first assignment you'll complete will be the syllabus quiz. This is a 10-question quiz on Blackboard asking questions about the content of our class syllabus. It's not proctored, there's no time limit, you can open and close it. You can use the syllabus as a resource when you're answering the questions, so it's a very low stakes assignment. The purpose is really just so that I can make sure that you are familiar with some of the course policies that are really important. Looking past the syllabus quiz, you'll also be completing 14 lab activities that are spread across the semester. Those are each worth 20 points for a total of 280, and that roughly breaks down to one per week, except there's a week that we take final exams, and then we have a week where there's a holiday that there's no lab assigned as well. And then there are also 15 study guides, roughly one per week, except again for the week that we take final exams. These are worth 10 points each for a total of 150. And these study guides are designed to accompany the lectures. So as you're watching the lecture, you fill out the study guide. And then lastly, there will be 4 exams given throughout the semester. Each of those is worth 100 points, and that's a total of 400 points. So all of those different assignments add up to 850 possible total points. And at the end of the semester, the way that grading will work is on the scale that you can see here. If you end up with an 89.5% or higher, meaning that you earned at least 761 of the total possible points, your final grade is an A. If you earn between 79.5 to an 89.4%, or 676 points to 760 points, your final grade is a B, etc. So as you move through the semester, you can use this to roughly gauge how many more points you would need in order to end up with the grade that you want to get. Now, when is all of this stuff due? Items that are assigned during a given week can be completed anytime during the week, as long as they are submitted by 9 a.m. the following Monday. So one of the nice things about this online class is that you can work it around your schedule and your life. As long as you're getting stuff in by Monday at 9 a.m., then you will be on track. And you can find the items that are assigned in a given week by keeping an eye on the schedule, which is posted on Blackboard. You can see a little snippet of it here. So as you can see, there is a column telling you which chapter our lecture is on, which has the accompanying study guide and checkpoints. And then there is another column showing you if there's anything else due that week. For the most part, that's usually just the lab activity assigned for the week. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more detail about the different types of assignments, starting with our exams. Our exams are closed note and closed book, which means that you do have to study for them because you'll be relying on what you have processed into your brain in order to demonstrate your learning. The tests are all taken at one of CAC campus testing centers, so you have to physically go to campus during the exams window of availability, which is approximately 1 week long, and that's where you'll take the test. CAC has 5 different campuses, and you can go to any of them. So here they are listed with locations and opening dates of the week. As you can see, 4 of the campuses are only open Monday through Thursday, but the Signal Peak campus is open Monday through Saturday. That's the one I have highlighted in red there. So they accept testing appointments on Fridays and Saturdays as well, even though the college at large is closed on those 2 days. So if you have a Monday to Friday job, Signal Peak might be the right campus for you since that has weekend hours. Here is the phone number where you can call to schedule an appointment. This is one centralized phone number. So this is the phone number you call regardless of which campus you're going to. The testing centers do accept walk-ins, but their availability is not guaranteed. So they highly recommend you schedule an appointment. And I especially recommend that you schedule an appointment if you're planning to go on an evening or a Saturday, because those are very popular times. Now, if you are living out of state, or if you just generally live too far from campus to get to one of the testing centers, you can find an alternative location near you, such as another college or a library that hosts proctored testing. Put them in contact with me and I can arrange for you to take your test there. But like I said before, the online 181 classes at CAC are no longer using web-based proctoring services as of last semester. So in-person proctoring of some type at a physical location is required. Other important things to know about the exams is that you'll have an approximate 1 week long window to complete each exam. So the window runs from 9 a.m. on a Monday and then all the way through to 6 p.m. on Monday of the following week. For the final exam, there will be a bit smaller of a window. You have from Monday to a Thursday, but each of the other exams have that week-long window where the exam is open. You can take it any time during that window. You'll have 60 minutes to complete the exam in a single sitting. So what that means is that when you sit down and you start the test, you have to finish it. You can't, leave the appointment and come back and finish it later. The first 3 tests only cover what we've learned in the previous unit, and they will take place 1 week after we close out the last chapter of a unit. So, for example, if we look back at the course schedule, you can see that our first exam is taking place in week 5, and it will cover chapters 1 through 4, and we will have finished chapter 4 the previous week. However, the final exam is comprehensive, and so what that means is that it will take a little bit of everything that we've learned throughout the semester and test you on it. But when we get to that point, there will be a study guide that tells you what to focus on so that you can narrow down your studying and not be overwhelmed with everything we learned the whole semester long. The format of all of the exams, including the final, is the same. They have 40 multiple choice or matching questions that are each worth 2 points. So 40 times 2 is 80 points worth of multiple choice stuff, followed by 3 to 6 free response questions where you type your answer in, and those are altogether worth 20 points. So that adds up to about 100 points per exam. Next, let's talk about the labs. As I mentioned, for the lab component of this class, you're going to be doing hands-on experiments at home using those lab kits. There will be 14 of these lab activities that are each worth 20 points. So this accounts for 280 of the 850 total points in the class. And this breaks down to roughly 1 per week, except for there's a week that we have a holiday, and there's the first week when we don't have one, and the week of final exams. The lab kit will contain most of what you need to do these activities, but some of the materials you will need to provide yourself. Usually these are things that you have at home already. So, for example, if we look at the protocol on the screen here for our photosynthesis lab, there are going to be 2 sections at the beginning of each lab. There's one that shows you which items you need to pull out of your lab kit, and then there is a second section that says what you need to supply yourself. And in a lot of cases, this is stuff you probably already have at home. Like in this case, it requires a lamp or a windowsill with direct sunlight, a timer that can be on your phone, a camera that can be on your phone. But something you may not already have at home to complete this particular lab is spinach leaves. So you want to make sure you check out the instructions for the lab at the beginning of the week, because you want to make sure that you can form a plan to get any materials that you don't have. You don't want to get to the end of the week on Sunday night, the lab is due the next morning, and you realize that you need spinach leaves and you don't have an opportunity to go get them. So make sure you look at what you need early in the week, even if you're not going to do the lab until the weekend. Make sure you just look at what is required as far as materials go so that you can see what you need to get. And one other thing you want to make sure you do before completing the lab, watch the lecture that's assigned. Some of the times you need to watch the lecture first in order to understand the lab that's assigned for the given week. And if you try to dig into the lab without having that foundational content, it could be difficult. The next type of assignment that you'll be completing are study guides. There are 15 study guides throughout the semester. They're each worth 10 points. So that's 1 per week. The study guides correspond directly to the information that is covered in the lecture videos and to what is covered on the exam. So, my strong recommendation is that you do the study guide while you are watching the lecture video. So, have the study guide document open on your computer at the same time that you have the video. The questions in the study guide are designed to flow in the same order of the information, how it's presented in the video. So it's very easy to just pause the video, type in your answer, make sure you're not missing anything, and use this as a form of guided notes to structure your thinking about the lecture content. And then when you are finished, you'll take that document, you'll save it, and you will upload it to Blackboard to submit it. I go through it line by line and grade it to make sure you didn't miss anything, because these study guides are your tools to prepare for the exams. I do not try to trick you guys, so it's very straightforward. The content that is on the study guide is the stuff that you need to know for the exams. So that's why I grade them on a weekly basis to make sure that you are on track with what you are compiling in your study guides. Of course, filling out the study guides is not enough by itself. You do have to actually invest time in working with that information, studying it, practicing it, and mastering it. And if you need any tips or tricks for how to do that, remember my door is open and I can help you figure out what good study strategies are. But filling out these study guides is the first step to mastering the information in the lectures. And then lastly, we have a regularly occurring source of extra credit points every week in the form of what I call checkpoint questions. Checkpoint questions are my way of incentivizing you to watch the lecture videos and self-test throughout the video. Throughout the video, there will be these questions that appear as part of the slideshow. They will be clearly labeled as checkpoint questions, like the one that you see clipped onto the slide here. And when you reach one of these questions, you will want to pause the video, type your answer, figure out what it is, and then once you get to the end of the video and you've answered all of the questions, then you submit the checkpoint document or the assignment on Blackboard. The checkpoint questions are each worth 0.2 fractions of a point, which might not sound like a lot, but it does add up over the course of a unit. It can make a very significant difference in your grade. There's typically around 10 of them per lecture, and so that works out to an additional 2 bonus points per lecture that you do over the course of a unit. That can add up to the equivalent of almost a full letter grade on the exam that you take for that unit. Now, before we close out, let's look at a few general course policies that we have, such as attendance policy. Since this is an online class, attendance works a little bit differently than in a face-to-face class. Attendance is marked based on participation. So if you submit assignments during a given week, it doesn't have to be all of them, but if you submit something that's due during a given week, you are marked as present. If you don't submit anything in a week, you are marked as absent. And any student who doesn't participate for 2 consecutive weeks without contacting me will be withdrawn from the course for excessive absences. Now, if something comes up, you have a major emergency and you know you're going to have to play catch up after a couple of weeks, let me know, because then I won't go through the process of withdrawing you. But if you don't communicate with me, I won't know what's going on, and then you risk getting withdrawn. So just keep that open line of communication with me and you will be okay. And then late assignments will receive a 10% deduction for every day that they are late. So if you have to turn in a lab 1 day late, labs are worth 20 points. 10% of that is 2 points. So you would have 2 points shaved off of the score on the lab, but otherwise it gets graded as normal. So keep that in mind, because if you get to the end of the week and you haven't completed an assignment, oftentimes it benefits you to not just rush through it and get a really crummy score. If you do poor work and you end up getting just a few points, that's actually worse than if you take the extra day or 2 and do the job thoroughly, and then you turn it in and get the small late penalty. So just keep that in mind. The last policy I'll touch on is our academic integrity policy, which can be summed up by the following statement: all of your work in this class must be original. As I said earlier, if you're in this class, you have chosen a pathway where you will be expected to know things. And in line with that, our most important goal in this class is to learn. So if something that you produce for this class didn't come from your brain, if your neurons weren't firing when you did that work, if you're just on autopilot and checking boxes and copying, pasting material, then you aren't learning. So the rules are simple. Don't copy from other students. Don't copy from internet sources. Don't copy from AI search engines. Give me what you know, not what other sources know. A very, very important thing to keep in mind is that I am not looking for perfect work. I am looking for your work. That message is so key. I'm going to say it again. I'm not looking for perfect work. I'm looking for your work. Now, if you are someone who produces incredible, flawless, perfect assignments, that's great. You're not going to be penalized for that. But I say this to take off some of the pressure and some of the temptation away to sculpt exactly a particular kind of answer that might lead to problems. Let me give you an example. So here are two possible answers to the same question. The question is, what role do lipids, in other words, fats, play in living organisms? The answer on the left is what I got when I entered this question into ChatGPT. It reads, lipids play crucial roles in living organisms, contributing to various physiological functions. Here are some of the key roles of lipids. Energy storage. Lipids, particularly triglycerides, serve as a highly efficient form of energy storage. They can be stored in adipose tissue and broken down when the organism needs energy. Number two, structural component. Lipids are integral components of cell membranes, phospholipids, blah, blah, blah. So that's a very thorough answer. Actually, it's a little bit too thorough because we don't actually learn about adipose tissue in this class. So it's gone beyond the scope of what you need to know. But now let's look at a different answer, the one on the right. Lipids store energy for long-term use. Storing lipids can also help animals survive in the cold because their fat insulates them. There is also a special type of lipid that is used to build cell membranes called a phospholipid. Okay, that second one on the right, is it as detailed and elaborate as the first answer? No. Is it as poetically written from a language arts perspective? No. But do I care? No, absolutely not. This answer has everything that you need to know on the topic. It includes just the right amount of information that's covered in our lecture and our textbook, and that information is correct. To a certain extent, you can even spell words wrong, and as long as I understand what you're saying, then I get the picture. So keep that in mind. I'm not looking for fancy, sophisticated work. I'm looking for your work. Did it come from your brain, and is it correct? That is what matters to me. Now, I hope I've made a good case for the importance of academic integrity, but if there are academic integrity violations that come up, the consequences are as follows. A first infraction results in a score of 0 on the assignment and a warning where I reach out to you to speak about what it was to you, and make sure you understand the parameters of what's required. Which it's important that you understand after a first infraction, because the consequences for a second infraction is a grade of F in the class, failing the class, not just the assignment, but the whole course. So this is very rare, but it has happened. So please don't get into this territory. Be proactive about avoiding it. If you are struggling with what we're learning and you find yourself gravitating towards questionable territory, before you do that, reach out to me and ask for help, because I really am on your team. I truly want you to succeed. If what you need is one-on-one tutoring or other resources that can be offered by other areas of the college for time management, just let me know, and I can help you with whatever it is you need. On that note, I want to close out by offering you some tips for being successful in our course. First, try not to fall behind. Stay on top of the weekly rotation of assignments, including the study guides and checkpoints and labs. What we do every week is pretty predictable, but it does pile up quickly if you miss a week, so please stay on top of things. Also, be sure to check Blackboard and your CAC email regularly. If you don't check those things, you could end up missing out on important information that I'm trying to communicate to you guys. If you have a different personal email that you use more often than your CAC email, and you would be better off having those messages forwarded to your personal email, let me know and I can help set up forwarding for you. Next, communicate with me in whatever way is most comfortable for you. Blackboard messages, email. If you need help, ask me for help. Like I said, I want you guys to meet your goals in this class and further your education in general. My door is always open. I don't ever turn someone away for any reason. Any question is valid. I love interacting with you guys and helping you out, so please reach out if you need anything. With that, we only have a couple things left to do. I'm going to give you a short to-do list for our first week, because this first week has a number of little miscellaneous tasks that need to get done to set you up for the rest of the semester. First, you want to check out the syllabus and complete the syllabus quiz on Blackboard. You also want to place the order for your lab kit from the bookstore. I'm also asking you to sign up for a meet and greet session with me. This is going to be a short 15-minute virtual meeting sometime during the first week. It's worth 10 points. This meet and greet actually represents half of your grade for the first lab assignment. I like to meet all of my online students one-on-one virtually to make sure that you are settling in okay, that you're comfortable with the online course. So please choose a meeting time with me using the link on Blackboard, which I'll show you in just a moment. Then you'll want to complete the short student questionnaire that I've created to get to know a little bit more about each of you. And then finally, you will get to your first real assignments, which are the Chapter 1 lecture and the accompanying study guide and extra credit checkpoints. So before I leave you, I am going to give you a short tour of our Blackboard page so that you know where everything is located. Okay, here is our main Blackboard landing page for the class. Up at the top, you can see that there are a few different tabs where you can access different things. We are on the main content page. If you want to see all the due dates laid out with the assignments, you can use the calendar. This is where I will post announcements on a weekly basis for you to view. This is where you can see your grades, and this is where you can send me messages back and forth. Going down into the main content area, you can see that we have folders broken out week by week for all of the content. It's all posted, but you should start here with this folder where you can find the syllabus schedule and our syllabus quiz. You can find the student questionnaire linked here. This is where you can sign up for one of our meet and greet sessions during the first week. And here is the link to our digital copy of the textbook. Getting into the weekly folders, in each week you will see a few things. You will see the lecture material and then the lab material as well. So there's going to be a lecture video, extra credit checkpoints, study guide, and then there will be a lab assignment as well each week. So it's pretty predictable. Every week has the same sort of stuff in the folders. But of course, if you have any questions about where to find anything in Blackboard or anything that I've talked about in this video, please just send me a message. And I look forward to meeting you guys during the first week.